Hey, everybody. Welcome to week 260. Yes, yes, yes. 260 weeks of us doing that. And that does not include weeks that we took off for Christmas and New Year's and whatever else. So this is 260 live episodes. And not with us today is Adam. He has been speaking at a conference with other CEOs, and I know he's rejuvenated, and I've heard great reviews already so far from his talk yesterday. So I can't wait to have him back next week. But we do have Jack, and he is high atop the Skynet satellite somewhere. And we also have two very special guests. If you guys remember, we had Chad Jenkins on a couple weeks ago where we were talking about making AI work. Well, guess what? So we knew that we had an encore presentation that had to come, and it's not a presentation, it's conversation. But there was just too much engagement around it. And so asked Chad if he would be available again. He goes, "Hey, how about if I add a zero?" And he wrote a book called Just Add a Zero, worth reading. Yeah, so
Oh,
Tom, they won't see you until you actually talk, but then show it. But so anyway, he goes, I won't be able to make it, but these two guys, and I remember seeing Steve on a couple calls with Chad in the past, and then Tom Lambotte, he is on, founder of AI Simplifier, which, hey, simplifying things, that's a good thing. That's what we're trying to do. So I think we're in for a real treat. So you guys know the drill. Hit us with the Q&A, and you can harass us in the chat, but go easy on these guys because we want them to be able to come back, and we don't want them to leave in tears, whether they're artificial tears or not. For you to decide. So anyway, you guys do know the drill. This will be really fun, interactive. Do not waste your time by being silent. Ask the dumb questions because I guarantee you they're probably not dumb. You just think they're dumb. So, Jack, give us what's the latest from high atop Skynet.
so a couple things. First, appreciate the guys coming on. I am one of those people that currently uses AI chat GPT for basically glorified Google searches and would like to be more efficient in what I use it for. Not only for myself, but also what it seems to be happening, and I'm not surprised, is that clients are asking, okay, what if we use this? What if we implement it? What if something goes wrong or something is inaccurate? Whose responsibility is that when something like that happens? So, we have something that's generated. Someone was showing me yesterday at a gathering what he put into an AI engine to generate a bunch of content and logos, and it came up with this design. And I said, how did it generate that design? He's like, and he did what many teenagers do, which is, So I said, all right, is it copyrighted? Is it open? Is it, where, and what happens when someone contacts you and says, yeah, I took that photo, or that's my drawing, or this or that. And so, there's a lot of legal gray area that I think is going to be litigated in the near future and far future as we continue down this process. And I only say that because people are asking me those questions, and I really don't know the answers to that because there just has not been enough in either the federal or state legislatures regarding ownership and publication of these kind of things, nor in the courts interpreting, because there really isn't much to interpret, and people are trying to use laws that were not designed for this type of technology and trying to interpolate that into opinions. And all that does is prolong the pain, because you likely will have an appeals court that says, yeah, the trial court got it wrong, or they shouldn't have come to that conclusion because it's not supported in the law, regardless of the facts. So there's a lot of, I think, wrangling that will continue to go on in the courts in relation to all of this stuff. Um, as far as the bill that's in front of the Senate at this point, Don't know. I haven't heard anything significant about that. They're still, I think, pushing for a July 4th kind of announcement that, look at us on Independence Day, how, we got it done kind of thing is I think what they're
Yeah.
looking for. And I think they're a little bit distracted with this little thing going on in between
Yeah.
Israel and Iran. So, not surprised that there hasn't been a whole lot of attention put on this bill. I mean, not in the limelight. There is a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, as my, guys in DC that you've met, Shoemaker Advisors, would tell you. Yeah, they are very busy and there's a lot of stuff going on, but just in the limelight, there's other stuff that is more glamorous and sexy to report on in the news on a nightly basis or in the morning. So that's kind of the gist of it. I didn't want to take up too much time because I'm very excited and anxious to hear about what I might be able to do because I'm not doing it, and but I don't know what it is.
Thank
Haha,
you for bringing us
IT,
that.
it, get it? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
That was a little dad joke. IT, it, get it? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. Well, the ID10T error code, I have had that happen many, many times. If you just write the ID10T code, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Just write it out and you'll understand. Um, but thank you for bringing us a legal perspective that is not legal advice, but it is merely Jack Santinello's opinion. So thank you for that, Jack. And before we go further, Papa Joe Farrell is on here, and he is a regular. Thank you very much. And his question is Tom wearing an artificial t-shirt? Abundance is not artificial, man.
No, abundance is a plenty.
That's right. So no, it's real. It's real. So before we dive into this, I want to just set the table for everybody. Hey, this is not an advertisement for AI Simplifier. They do have a course for CEOs on and people like Tony Robbins and other famous people use them and go and turn to these guys. But it's not about name dropping, and it's not about, hey, let's go sell you a thing. We're really trying to serve you, and so the more questions you can ask, the better. So that's where I'm going to leave it at that. And so Tom and Steve, I'll let you guys kind of give us a precursor, like, because this is an audience of entrepreneurs, all right? Entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs of privately held companies. And they're all dealing with this conundrum. And I think it's fairly safe to say that the bulk of people, if they're using ChatGPT and if they have an iPhone 16, they are using ChatGPT as a glorified Google search. Okay. And there are some other things that can be done. Chad and I talked a little bit about it a couple times ago where Chad introduced me to genspark.ai. I'm happy to show you the scope document it created for an app that I'm wanting to develop. It did UI and it picked wrong logos off of our website. I'm like, hey, wait, and so you have to garbage in, garbage out, and the more refined of the prompts, the better you are. Oh, so here's a good question from Papa Joe. Would you say if you're not using AI currently in some shape or form, you're falling behind? I'll let you guys answer that. But then, let's talk about getting past the mind mirage or just the deluge of stuff that's coming at us. Oh, you're missing out, like that FOMO.
Yeah.
FOMO, you're behind the curve and you're already a dinosaur, blah blah blah. And tactics are us, where they're just looking for more shiny object tactics. Oh, and you should be using this. Oh no, you should be using Grok. You should be using this. Like, let's start about the basics, and that's why I love the firm name, AI Simplifier. Let's get to the basics and help our guys understand, like, and gals. That's a Midwest term, by the way. So let's dive into it. So Tom, Steve, jump ball.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Quick side thing, Gary. If you can email me that app that you created, the definition, right? The description for the app you want to build. If you have
Yeah,
that
yeah.
handy, shoot me an email and I'll go ahead and build it in the background here while we're presenting.
I'll
I'm
share with
dead
you.
serious. Or if
I'll
you have a
share
link,
with
you can
you
send
what I
me.
sent and what I took to GenSpark AI.
Yeah.
I'll send you to that page. So I'll put it in the chat for you.
Beautiful. All right. So going back to, well, let's start with Joe's question, right? If you're not using AI, are you falling behind? Yes, absolutely. When computers came out and everyone was using typewriters, if you didn't get on board and start using computers, you're falling behind, right? But the opportunity here, the problem, what you mentioned, it's overwhelmed city, right? How many of you have signed up for an AI newsletter? Those things are horrible. All right. I had a ton of those. And what they would do every single week they hit my inbox, it instantly put me in the gap. Right. It instantly put me in overwhelm. Like, oh man, I'm so far behind. Here are
Mhm.
27 new AI apps you must be using yesterday. Here's 75 business case studies that really don't mean anything to me and don't apply to my needs. So there's just a nonstop barrage of information and context and stuff, right? And it's so hard to get moving. Most people don't know where to go. Like you said, the ones that are using AI tools like ChatGPT are using them as glorified search assistants. I met with a client who went through our course last month, yeah, a couple days ago, and he actually runs an AI software development company. So you might think, why would someone like that go through your course? And the first thing he said in our discussion, which just nailed it perfectly, he said, Tom, just because we know how to build cars doesn't mean we know how to drive them.
Uh,
Right. And everyone has been, the entire industry has been obsessed on tactics. So ever since it came out, it was, I mean, AI, this was built by some pretty smart people, built by engineers. Okay.
yeah.
Prompt engineering, just the name itself is like, okay, it's engineering. I don't want an 8-step process to start a conversation with AI. It needs to be
Right.
easy. It needs to be fluid. It needs to tap into my creativity. But those are not any of the words that ever come up when you're learning, when you're trying to master AI, right? And so everyone's got this like overwhelming nonstop barrage of information updates. Is it Grok? Is it Claude? Is it Gemini? Is it this? Which tool should I use? It doesn't freaking matter, right? Which is the best luxury car? It doesn't matter. They've all got the same tools. They got leather seats. They go really fast. They're comfortable. It's all preference at the end of the day,
Yeah.
And so it's more about, but everyone's using these powerful tools, but no one's gone, okay, this is how you go into a turn. This is how you,
Yeah.
I remember going when I was in the BMW Car Club of America when I was young. And I remember going to my first like driving school. It was at the stadium parking lot in San Diego. And the first time I drove my car around the course and I had the driver just sit there and not say a word, thank goodness. And I drove around and then he went in the car, he drove the car and I just sat and I was like, holy crap, my car can do this stuff. Right. And I've never forgotten that moment. Exact same car, but the right driver. And that's
Yeah.
really the opportunity when you learn how to use AI in the right way. Um, there's so much that's possible. There's so much friction and stuff that the majority of users have come to define as the reasons they don't like AI that are just false. Like, oh, I don't like using AI because it doesn't sound like me. Right. We were talking about that before we started. Yeah, I do. You were saying how you do all your writing yourself because it's important to be authentic. And there's so much crap AI output right now that all sounds the same. It's every single post is the same recipe. You can, we are pattern recognition machines, and within 2 seconds we can tell when something was written by AI. Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a breath because I know I'm bouncing all over the place.
No,
Steve,
that's really
Eric,
good.
Jack, anything you want to? I get a little passionate. I get going.
The BMW driving experience is an exception. I mean, it's a great example because a lot of guys have been in race cars or they've done a Richard Petty driving experience or whatever.
Mhm.
Like we've done that, and it ate the car.
Mhm.
I mean, at some point, it is the driver. So that's a great one. There is a question that came in here that I want to address from Joe. He says, for complex, long cycle sales at the outset, getting leads scheduled for a first call, how are you scheduling AI agents working effectively and compliantly? Let's deal with that at some point in this conversation, if you would.
Steve, you want
Here,
to jump on that one?
yeah, I'll hop in on that. Hi, everybody. I'm Steve French, Tom's co-founder in AI Simplifier. Gary, Jack, thank you so much for having us. We're thrilled to be here. I wanted to step back for one quick second and give two quick perspectives that I think are very helpful. So FOMO, absolutely. Overwhelm, absolutely. Everybody that we start working with, that's their starting point. One of the biggest things that I found super helpful, and this pulls on what Tom's point was earlier, I was finding when I was, keeping up with the arms race, the AI arms race. So
Yeah.
ChatGPT came out with a new one, and then Grok came out with a new one, and then Gemini, oh my goodness, over here, and Perplexity and Notebook LM and all the different tools. I was just having, for those of us who are in strategic coach and know our Colby profiles, I was just jumping from quick start to quick start to quick start. Squirrel, right, shiny
Yeah.
object. Oh, look at that. I gotta go to that. And I was just dipping my toe in the shallow end. So I was just getting a little tiny bit of all of them and seeing some potential, but never going deep enough to actually get there. So one of the things that I did late last year was I decided to go really deep on two tools. So one of them was ChatGPT and the other one was Copilot. So the reason why I did that was because OpenAI, my kids told me about OpenAI. That's the great thing about having kids in university. They told me about OpenAI, a year ago, November, and we all just kind of went, oh my goodness, this changes everything. And one of the things I'm old enough to have been there through, the first email addresses, the first websites, the first e-commerce, the first,
Yeah.
mobile broadband, all of those different big step shifts in technology. This is bigger than all of them. This is like fire or electricity where we are right now, which is really, really fun. But what going deep in ChatGPT and Copilot, and the reason why I also put Copilot into that mix there is because we're a Microsoft 365 shop, and Copilot is actually powered by ChatGPT. So Microsoft was the first and early investor in OpenAI, and Bloomberg has said that that will be the best billion-dollar investment of all time, and that was about 8 years ago now. And right now, it's interesting because they're almost becoming a little bit of competitors. But the interesting thing is, ultimately, when you type a query into ChatGPT or use a ChatGPT agent or any of those things, it's actually powered by Microsoft's infrastructure at this point. So, short story long, I decided to go deep. So that was the first big shift. And the second big shift that happened was Tom started to allude to it before, but one of the things that we do a little bit differently at AI Simplifier is we talk about the most important AI mindsets. So yes, we do use the tools. Yes, we do, extensive demonstrations. Yes, we show you how to actually drive the BMW better and do the heel and toe and hit the apex of that curve. But the whole point is the mindsets that we teach our clients, they work in any tool. And it's really about seeing a great driver, a great chef, a great musician, a great wordsmith. It's watching those greats at work. And that's what it's like in our sessions with Tom. I mean, he and I are partners. He and I have been best of friends for about 10 years. And I'm still, he'll do a demo on something and I'll go, holy cow, that was amazing. Because he's just a genius at work. So anyway, Tom, I'll throw it back over to you. It looks as though you might have already created Gary's app.
It's almost done. It's working.
Almost done.
It's doing
Okay.
its thing. We'll come back to it for the big reveal. Yeah, a couple of things I think I'd like to touch on. One, I started talking about the problem with AI training, right? Well, one that I've realized, and I'd love to get an idea of what size your teams are for everyone that's on the call. So if you can hop on the chat and just pop in the number 5, 10, 50, 12, what have you got? Because I think a big issue I've seen, and I just read like 94% of AI initiatives have failed or something crazy. And I think that's because a lot of leadership teams essentially came back and they said, hey, teams, start using AI. figure it out. Find a way to start
Period.
using AI to make your job better, right? So they delegated it. And it's really important for the CEO, for the leadership to understand and really, you've got to have that clicked aha moment when you go, holy wow. I'm reserving my language here. I don't know your audience. But when you have those breakthrough moments and you really start to use it strategically, it helps anyone and everyone. Again, whether it's someone who's a total newbie beginner, we've had people in their late 70s go through the course. We did a group specifically for pharmacists, that we've been doing, and we've had huge feedback. We've also had, like I said, there was another guy in Mumbai who runs a software company, again, advanced, smart tech guy. And he's like, Tom, what's cool about what you're teaching is that everything you're teaching today is going to be just as relevant a year from now. That's not easy to say in the world of AI, right? So really those foundational shifts in mindsets. But the problem with a lot of the AI training is that it creates gaps within your teams. So if you've got, in every team, I'm a big fan of the Pareto principle, right? The 80-20 rule. 20%, maybe at best, is the reality. 10% of your team is tech savvy, right? They're playing with these AI tools on their own, just for fun, right? The rest of your team is not. So how do you address that? How do you raise the entire group? And what's the right training to bring in so that you don't bring in something that's too like 101 level and you're leaving your advanced, tech people behind, or something's too advanced and it just creates more of an inferiority complex with the rest of the team and they get left further behind. So that's where kind of the mindset approach and the foundational approach that we take, kind of really differs. And I thought it might be good to go in the direction, what we started talking about before, Gary, was just the voice. That's actually where we start. The first week, our session is on voice, because I find one of the biggest things that hold people back from really starting to use AI is that classic, it doesn't sound like me, right? You try it, something comes out, okay, cool, but it's using 50-cent words and it's talking like AI. And you're like, it's gonna be too much work to make it sound like me. Can either of you guys relate to that, Jack or Gary?
Oh, definitely, for sure. Because I see so many things on LinkedIn. A lot of people, like, I don't know how many of our audience are really that active on LinkedIn. So it may not be as big of a deal for them, but I know that I've been like, I don't want, well, for me personally, I don't want to, I enjoy exercising the muscle of my brain in writing. Like, I actually enjoy it and I don't want to lose that as I get older and I'm not getting younger. So that's important to me. So that's why I'm doing it. But I see others that are half my age that I feel like, dude, that ain't your voice. I don't know whose it is, but it sounds like the same pablum I'm seeing everywhere else. So I kind of discount it then. So it's probably working against them. Um,
I see kind of a
so Hank,
variation of that, Gary, as well, which is that we'll have a client who gets a demand letter, and the person is trying to make it sound very legalese and
uh,
just completely missing the mark. And I've had some letters come from attorneys, and I'm like, okay, this is just that, and it just it makes me feel okay. I don't know, the adversary, there's no adversary on the other side if that's what they're doing.
Mhm.
But obviously, but I've seen some, when you talk about voice, it's also, having, I think, the AI try to be a professional in using whatever language, maybe it's even engineering, like putting together, this is the issue, and using words that really are not relevant,
Mhm.
or translatable. It's a synonym, but it's not the right synonym in the context of what the issue is, kind of thing.
Mhm.
yeah, in some ways, here's a visual for you. It's like a room full of accomplished CEOs, and maybe not the Tony Robbins ilk, but they've done it. They're showing up in their t-shirts. They may have their flip-flops on like you, Tom, and then you've got a guy that rolls in with a really cheap JCPenney suit and tie, and he's trying to be like a CEO because that's what he thinks a CEO looks like, and
Yeah.
he hasn't been in that room. It's like, Uh-oh.
Oops.
So,
Careful though,
Yeah.
it could be Warren Buffett, so you never know.
yeah,
Pulling
but
up in
he
his
wouldn't
old
be.
Lincoln.
Yeah, that's true. But we would recognize Warren.
Yes, we would.
So the voice is so important because what you guys shared is spot on. And again, most people don't know how to drive this car, right? The
Yeah.
first thing you do when you buy a car, you don't just sit in and drive off. You adjust the seats and mirrors.
Mhm.
Super basic, right? We've all had features in our car that 4 years later, we're like, whoa, it can do this,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah,
had no
yeah.
idea, you know? But the voice holds so many people back. And a lot of people assume, I love what you shared, Gary, that um, people think AI makes writing inauthentic, but I don't
Yeah.
believe that. I think the way 90% of people are using AI makes writing inauthentic. Because what most people do first, they create out of thin air. Hey, come up with 3 ideas for an article I can write for my ideal client.
Yeah.
And make them, come to my website. Okay, so garbage in, garbage out. You're not putting anything in. And so what
Yeah.
we teach with voice is there's 2 parts. The first part is use your voice. So one of the first mindsets, if you guys want to write this down, this is a little nugget here. Quit typing, start talking. This thing here, the keyboard, this thing is evil. Tom, Gary, who is this guy? This guy's a wacko. What is he talking about? A keyboard is evil. So keyboard is evil. Um, Ever since we've had computers and typewriters, the only way we could put our thoughts that were in our mind down onto something, whether it was paper or a computer, was typing through a keyboard, right? However, it's extremely ineffective. What happens when we use the keyboard, when we have a mind or a thought or something we want to do in our mind, it's in 4K, it's in high definition. We have all the nuance, the details. We know the problem, the background, the context, who's involved, what we need, where we're stuck, right? But then what do we type into ChatGPT? Write me an article on, real estate deals for, whatever, right? So we trim far too much, right? So when we're typing, also we interrupt our creative flow. And this is where that authentic creation that you talk about, I love, but I believe the contrary. I think AI can be used to actually amplify and allow more of that to come out more effortlessly. Right. If anyone's here listening that has maybe wanted to write, maybe they're like, yeah, well, Gary writes. I don't have a need to write. I know a lot of people who have wanted to write. They've had the desire, they've had ideas within them that they want to share with their marketplace. But the friction of getting it out of their heads and the task of writing, many people describe themselves as, I am not a writer, right? Because many of us are not. We're entrepreneurs. But we have unique worldviews that no one has that we can share. We care about the people we're serving. And a lot of these messages and ideas stay locked in our minds because we don't have an easy process to get it out to the marketplace. So one of the first steps to overcome that is start talk instead of type. So if you look at ChatGPT, there's a little microphone button. There's
Yeah.
2 buttons. One is like the world, like where you do the live talking back and forth. Cool factor, but it sucks. That's my personal opinion. Because what it does, it interrupts you, right? If you're in thought and you stop and think for 2 seconds, it starts answering and you're like, no, 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 I'm not done. And it cuts you off and no one likes being interrupted. So you hit the record, you can talk for 2, 3, I think it has up to 10-minute limit in ChatGPT. So I want to challenge all of you to do that. For the next time you work with AI, hit the record button and just talk. You're going to put in 10 times the amount of detail, context, nuance, background. You're not structuring, you're not prompt engineering, you're not filling in the blanks, right? You just start talking. Hey, this is my problem. Here's what I'm working on. This is a challenge. Or, hey, I want to write an email to Gary. Tell him thank you for having us, as a guest on his, show. We had a great time. Blah blah blah. And it's going to put that together. So let the AI let the AI do the work of organizing your thoughts. And your job is to capture your creativity and your vision and your definition. Jack, you got your hand raised.
So how does it deal with natural human talking? So for example, I grew up with an actual dictaphone with a little micro tape, and now it's all digital and it's actually on my phone. I don't have a separate device and it goes straight to my legal assistant. I try really hard to get my thoughts and anticipate what I'm going to say. My understanding is that AI will allow for the ums and uhs and the, oh, by the way, also this, and by the way, also that. Is that
Mhm.
true? That it will filter through all of those mental
Yes.
pauses that we, okay.
Yeah, just raw, unfiltered, just get in your flow, right? When you're talking with your clients, when you're meeting with prospects, when we're talking to our team members or whatever, we get in a state of flow. It's easy, it's effortless, right? The hard part is the follow-up, for example. But when you're in flow, so again, you hit record. If you're a Mac user, Steve, you can drop the link in for Talktastic. There's a free app called Talktastic. That's the one that I use. Anytime, anywhere on my computer. So I don't have to be in ChatGPT. I hit the F5 key and I start talking. I literally type 10% of the time now that I used to type. So I'm way more efficient. Like if I want to send a Slack message to my manager or whatever, I just hit the F5 key. Hey, Christine, blah, blah, blah. Here's what's going on. Boom. I hit the button again. I hit send. So it's a huge time saver, right? In one way. But second is that nuance, that detail, that context. That is what AI thrives on. So when people are typing a prompt and they're saying, write me an article on this, it's making it all up. But if you're capturing Gary's genius and he's just sitting and boom, an idea hits him. Here's a funny story. So a lot of people don't know this, but the ChatGPT app on your phone, well, on any of them, it can actually handle whispers. So a few weeks ago, I'm laying in my bed. My wife is asleep. I don't want to wake her up, but I get an idea, right? And I don't want to lose it. You guys ever have that? It's just me, right? I go under the covers. I open up ChatGPT and I whisper. I'm talking like whisper, super duper quiet. And I whisper the whole idea that I have. Boom, it transcribes it perfectly. Every single word.
Wow.
I copy that and I paste it into my Tom bot, which is my voice GPT that I've trained on my voice. 2 minutes later, I post the article on LinkedIn and it does not sound like crap. It does not sound like it's going to be a game-changing deep dive. It's not about this. It's about that. Let's do it together. All that crap that we can pick up a mile away. So
now Tom's wife, though, she has all kinds of strange dreams after Tom goes under the sheets because she's happily asleep right next to him. And Tom's, oh my goodness, we got this great idea and we're going to do this thing and it's going to be fabulous and amazing. And Christine wakes up. I had the strangest dreams last night.
genius strikes at the most random times, So
yeah, that's funny.
that's
Hey,
one idea is to
before we
capture the input.
that's super helpful, super practical. I love it. This is exactly in the direction that I was hoping this would go. I don't want to miss. So we had a range from 1 employee to 200, and 10 to 12 on management teams, kind of typical. But here's what's interesting. Here's a question from Alex. He says, I've been trying to make use of Copilot to make or help automate tedious administrative tasks since it's included in our Microsoft SaaS bundle, but I'm afraid to activate it because I don't want it using our entire network as a learning model and giving unauthorized people access to confidential data via Copilot queries. How do you handle this situation? That's
So that's actually perfect question, Alex, and that's a common misconception. So that's actually one of the best things about Copilot. So by default, it's off. It's not training the public models with any of our content, any of our data. Microsoft came at this from the proper approach, which was privacy first. So in ChatGPT, you can actually turn that off as well in your preferences inside of ChatGPT in your account. You can actually, there's a flag there. Do you want your information to be protected from the public model? I would encourage you to turn that off, especially if you're dealing with anything sensitive, and basically just think about, obviously, before you start dumping things in there. There were a couple of stories when ChatGPT first came out. I think somebody put the source code for one of Samsung's new products into ChatGPT, and then it was there. So be very, very careful on that. But with Microsoft and Copilot, you are protected by default. So it is a walled garden. So the great thing about that is you're getting all the best parts of ChatGPT in their model, but it's grounded in our data. So think about everything that's inside of our Microsoft 365 organization. It's got all of our emails. It's got all of our documents because they're all stored in OneDrive and SharePoint. It's got all of our Teams recordings, all of our chats. everything that we do can then be the raw ingredients for an incredible conversation with your co-pilot. So hope that helps.
Yeah, and the security, I mean, that's one of the biggest questions. You know, we work with a lot of wealth managers, people in finance, private equity, medical, you know,
Doctors,
legal as well,
lawyers.
doctors. And the easiest answer is just Copilot, right? Because it's built in, like everyone's running on 365 already. They have all the security measures in place. So Copilot's the most secure, easiest one for them to kind of jump into.
And you actually don't have to copy and paste anymore either with ChatGPT. Now they're starting to create the connectors to Google Drive and OneDrive and that sort of thing, but that's been built into Copilot pretty much from the get-go. So you just make a reference to, you know, open up that contract, Jack, that we were working on last week, and you just do a slash and say, you know, contract Jack and Steve, and it'll pull it up. And then you just have the conversation from there.
Gary, do you want to see your app?
Yeah, yeah. I've made you co-host so you can share.
Awesome. All right. We started with this, okay, which is what was created in the first one. So I just took the description of the Care app, right? Keep, contain, recapture, expand, color coding system. Oh, that's what I needed. I didn't load this actually. I'll add that for better context. But here's the app so far. This is the first version. So we've got the dashboard, cultivate, acquire, recover, extend. There's the Care framework. You can see how many points you've earned. So that's okay. Let's log cultivate. Activity type, phone call, 8 points. You know, great webinar. Again, I don't have the context on what you were building and what you were doing, but it kind of helps you start building towards that weekly progress.
Yeah.
How does this look? Again, this is pretty quick and dirty. But you go to cultivate, you can see 31 points. You know, here's the activities that have been happening, average points, activities logged, acquire, gain new prospects and clients. It's got some sample data put in here, recover, and extend.
Yeah, so let me give some context to this, and you can riff a little bit on it.
Yeah.
So we, I think, are the only CPA firm in the world that owns a Sandler sales franchise. And before we owned the Sandler sales franchise, we were Sandler sales students for at least a dozen years. And they had this Care app, Kare, and it was a very simple, you know, mobile app as well as on your dashboard. And we ascribed certain points and we made it very simple, like very low hurdles. We just wanted our highly introverted, high S, high C in the disc profile accountants who had client facing roles to be comfortable in having conversations versus just looking at their shoelaces and not talking to people. And because when you have relationships, sales actually naturally happens. We're not trying to create the next used car sales group. No, not at all. We just want them comfortable in serving clients beyond looking at their shoelaces. So this thing became a really valuable thing. And so you're measuring inputs. Hey, are you having conversations? Are you meeting with centers of influence? You know, are you having your proven process planning meetings with your clients or not? Like, and that's our actually most valuable score. And then we were looking at it every week, and it's kind of gamifying because you see whether you're green or you're red, and like, you know, it's fun. And it worked really, really well. Well, then Sandler mothballed it. Who knows? I don't know why. So I asked Jim Dunn, who it was his franchise that we bought, and he still works for us. And I said, Jim, would you go back to the Sandler guys and see if we could buy it, license it, or whatever? Because I want to recharge that thing for us because we've got additional new people in that I want in that system, and we have other people in our network that we would like to be able to make it available to. We're not going to sell it or anything like that. He came back and said, yeah, they discontinued it because they didn't want to the cost of administrating it and charging for it or whatever. And I guess they charged for it. I don't know. So I said they won't let us even use it, like, or buy it. They can't find it or whatever. Who knows? Maybe a convenient excuse. So I'm like, man, I want to do this. So that's when I talked to Chad. Said, hey, Chad, are there free apps available like where we could build this thing? Because I actually have a friend in another mastermind that did that, and he's like, well, there are, but they're not scalable necessarily. Blah blah blah. Let me give you 5 minutes of prompts on how to use GenSpark.ai. Okay, cool. So that's what the link that I sent you to, so you could see how primitive, like, this is what I'm trying to do. Well, then I decided, hey, wait a minute. Even though Sandler isn't doing anything with it, I don't want them to come and sue me because of copyright infringement.
Mhm.
Thank you, Jack.
Jack
We've been paying
applauds. Yeah.
attention. And so it's like, hey, it's a cool thing, but like, so let's just change acronyms and, have our own point values, and it doesn't have to look like what they did. But that's all I want to do. And we're not going to charge for it. I just want to do something. So that's when I went back to my version 2.0. And I'm actually meeting with Ascend's AI team today to say, hey, can we build this? Because they're spending about 4 million a year on AI for those of us that are in the platform of Ascend, which is really cool. But I may be able to go back and show them this, Tom, and go,
Hey, here's
hey,
a little
hey.
prototype I built in 10 minutes. What can you guys do? I'll put them in their spot, make sure they, because I mean, think of IT companies, I don't know any specific ones, but I know there's still IT companies installing in-house servers and telling you you've got to run Exchange, on site. They're
Run
still
away from
there, right?
those.
And so when you think about AI development these days, it's insane. And actually, let me finish. So as soon as you started talking, I hit record. Okay, so I've got the whole conversation of everything you just shared. So what I'm going to do, go through the conversation below, and what I want you to do is update the detailed explanation of what they're looking to build in this app. So again, I'm just hitting record because typing is really slow. So boom, there's the entire transcript of what you had shared, right? So all that's here. I don't want to think through it because that takes too much work. So I'm just saying, hey, go through go through everything you just shared. Now, again, that's vivid detail, right? If you look at the earlier chat, it's kind of like, hey, at least, well, here you got a good amount of detail, right? That looks like it was pretty thorough. So we're going to go back down here.
And it pulled, it went to our old website, pulled old logos because we've done some revamps on that kind of stuff. So I'm like, hey, wait, back up the truck. So it did that. And then I uploaded an Excel document that had our point values that we had uniquely designed for our company. And it pulled all that stuff up. Very cool.
One thing I wanted to just highlight there, Gary, this is one of those little nuanced things that watching Tom work is always a gift. So did you see how he put in the prompt for GenSpark, and then it was starting to come back? He could see it was starting to go in the wrong direction. So he actually just hit the stop button and then went back and said, I don't want a web page. I want an app description. This is one of the biggest things that so many people, and you talked about this before, so many people think ChatGPT, GenSpark, Gemini, pick your poison, is a replacement for Google. And how many times when we do a Google search, if we get to the bottom of the first page, that's it. We never go to page 2, and we never go back and never go back to tweak the original question. We've got to think about using these tools as much more of a conversation. This is like having a PhD level assistant sitting here next to you. Yeah. Google has read Google knows all the books that are on your shelf there behind you, Gary, or behind Tom. Yeah. ChatGPT has read them, and you can have a conversation with Dan Sullivan or Tony Robbins or, whoever you'd prefer to, but you've got to give it the context and you've got to give it feedback. And so that's one of the things I really wanted to point that out, because so many people have never seen the ability that you can go in and say, stop and tweak, and, here's the right direction to be going in. So back to the car analogy, the car is your Tesla self-driving is taking a wrong turn. You can take the wheel back.
I've had to do that more than once.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty good, especially the full self-driving. It's really good.
Oh, absolutely.
Occasionally it wants to take me into a left turn lane when it's actually a right turn lane. the other way. Like, no, no, no.
Yeah. How many Zoom conversations have I been on with Chad while he's just sitting back and his car is driving him home? It's
Oh
fabulous.
yeah, yeah, all the time. That's
Yeah,
how he was prompting me how to use Gen Spark AI.
exactly. That's right.
Uh, so Tom, what is this program that you're using here?
So this is called Base 44. I don't know if you know Lior Weinstein. He's also a coach. He's in the pre-zone, but a friend of his
No.
built this in Israel. And this is think of Chat, it's ChatGPT to build apps. And it is crazy simple. We actually just built last week. We built this site here, AI-scorecard. So it's an AI assessment. I'll drop in the link if you guys want to play with it. Feel free to do so.
Yeah, please do.
And so it's a scorecard. So this whole web page, okay, this website, the scorecard, all the interaction here. So it's number of questions. You kind of gauge where you are. I use GPT to analyze all of the sessions that we're teaching and the outcomes and the feedback and the case studies to then reverse engineer the questions. So here's like a drag and drop, they're created. Okay, what's most important to you? So you fill these out. This whole thing I built in 2 hours. And I am not
Wow.
a developer. You might think, oh, well, he's a tech guy. I'm not a tech guy. I've never done coding or building apps or anything like this. This is way above my pay grade. But
Wow.
it built this whole thing, gap analysis. You go next. Okay, if you're ready, when do you want to start? Right now. Okay, that's what I
So
want.
this is while Tom's demoing that, this is, have you guys heard the term vibe coding? That's been popping
No.
around a lot. It's basically us as entrepreneurs and business owners and business leaders. We can have an idea. So Gary, your exact idea right then, there are these tools available now that can actually create a website, create an application, and do all that sort of thing. And you're basically just getting into the vibe of it and having a conversation.
So here's a question for you back on this app kind of thing,
Mhm.
Tom. So how do I get it from this to where I have it available on this and my team has that available, and then we have some sort of an administrator who can look across and see how our team's doing.
So this is actually that has the back end again. I spent 3 minutes working on this while we were talking, right? So
Right.
I
Yeah.
can't I
It's
can't speak
incredible.
about it at length. But so this, let me show you the live version of it here. And I actually already had it do some updates. So I provided your updated description. And I said, hey, based on everything he just talked about, update the description for the app and add the features that are currently missing. Okay, that's what I've asked it to do here. So
Wow.
now it's working its way through all this, kind of step by step. Give me a status update. What are you currently working on?
Me?
No, sorry, that I don't type, right? So I just
Oh,
hit
yeah, yeah,
record, copy, paste, boom. It's way more efficient.
yeah.
Um, and so I can tweak and update live, and instead of doing coding and opening and doing all this, it's a user interface just like ChatGPT. So we were looking at
Ace
um,
44. Wow. Cool.
So we were looking at the ROI calculator. I just built this on Tuesday, right? And Steve looked at it and he said, well, shouldn't we have these, this section should be up top, right? Because it doesn't know the price right off the bat because it doesn't have the relevance on your company size. So right inside here, I can just say, hey, I noticed that when I go to the ROI scorecard page, the first thing it shows are, specific numbers as opposed to having the kind of toggle menu so people can put in their own information. Can you move that to the top?
And by the
Boom.
way, Gary, back to your question, how can you use it on your mobile device? Base
Yeah.
44 actually creates those websites are actually what they call responsive websites. So all you need to do is open up that URL on your phone and it works on your phone too.
Wow. So you
Uh-huh.
don't have to go through the app store and all that hoo-ha.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Just go to the URL.
Have the URL bookmarked and boom, there you are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I hit
Right.
publish and boom,
Wow.
I just published the updates. So now
Yep.
when I go to ROI calculator, boom, there it is. Look
There
at
you
that.
go.
AI opportunity forecaster. How many team members? So Alex has 100 team members. Okay, what's their average salary? Let's say it's 50, 65,000. So potential AI opportunity 487,000. Then you can fine tune it. So how much hours reclaim per employee per week, right? 2 hours, easy. You can do 2 hours a week in your sleep, right? Okay, let's say they gave 5 hours a week. On average, people that go through our program get about 10 to 20 hours per week in reclaimed time, which sounds like a huge promise. I'm not making it up. This is just what people share, right? So let's be conservative. 5 hours, 812,000 unlocked in capacity, because there's so much wasted time. And the key is not learning all these advanced prompting techniques and strategies and all these tools. It's like, if you just change a few ways that you approach things, if you can get your whole team to start talking instead of typing, A, they're saving a ton of time, but B, the quality of their outputs, when you start doing this, you will be blown away at the quality of the outputs that you start getting. Because now it has way more detail, nuance. It knows what you're going for. It knows what your issues are, right? You can do an advanced ninja trick, and then you can bring in the 3 experts. That's another advanced strategy that we teach. I won't give the whole thing, but I'll give a little bit of context. So have you heard about the 3 circles of knowledge? Are you familiar with that, Gary? So there's the stuff you know, right? There's what I know is the core circle. On the next circle is everything I know I don't know. I know that I don't know how to fly a plane, right? But on the outside is everything you don't know, you don't know. Now, by definition, I don't care how freaking smart you are, you can think all day long, but you're never going to get into that outer circle, because by definition, you don't know that you're not even aware you're not aware of this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And so what you could do is you can use AI to bridge that gap. A lot of our problems we face as entrepreneurs are not, it's a lack of perspective, right? When we're looking at a problem, we don't know how to solve it. We just haven't figured it out, but someone else has. So the idea there, you talk, you capture all the context. Here's what I'm working on. And then you say, okay, based on that problem, who are the 3 best experts in the world that if I could pay them $1,500 an hour and come in and help me out with this problem, who would we pick? Now simulate a conversation between them, taking all of my context, what I'm working on, and we're going to have these 3 people simulate a conversation, poke holes in it, come up with ideas, bring new ways of thinking, right? You might be thinking, I've got this problem and my options are A and B. They're going to come up with C, D, and E. And you're going to go, holy crap, I never thought about option E. That's brilliant, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many ways to amplify what you're doing. Steve, jump in.
Yeah, go for it. Oh, you're muted, Steve.
One of these days I'll figure out how Zoom works. Thank you. One of the things that has been really helpful for people, a lot of people are really scared about AI.
Yeah.
I'm naturally an optimist, so I've been saying this for a long time, but further we go down the road, the more this idea, I think, has some merit. I think AI has the ability to make us much more human in ways that we haven't been in a long, long time. So one of the things that it's going to be a really interesting year. There were a couple of questions up above about, AI and agents and that sort of thing. So AI is actually going to be able to not just have a conversation with us, but it's actually able to do things for us now. Build a website, build an app, schedule something in our calendar, send an invoice in QuickBooks, et cetera, et cetera. That's all going to be amazing. But one of the things, I don't know if you guys saw a few weeks ago, OpenAI actually bought Johnny Ive's company. And for those of us who know Apple, Johnny Ive is the guy who designed the iMac, he designed the iPod, he designed
Oh,
the
wow.
MacBook, the iPhone, the iPad. So I'm getting goosebumps as I riddle off all of these things that he created. So Johnny worked at Apple for a couple of years after Steve Jobs passed away, and then he created his own thing. Anyway, OpenAI and Sam Altman just bought Johnny Ive's company, and Johnny has been working on a new piece of hardware, which now he's collaborating inside of OpenAI. And so they had a launch video a couple of weeks ago. I'll pop it here in the chat here in a second. But they basically talked about, and Johnny Ive used the phrase, when interacting with legacy devices. Now he's talking about the devices that we are using. I'm on a Mac, Tom's on a Mac, we've got our iPhones, our iPads and everything. And when Johnny Ive says these are legacy devices, that's really, really interesting. So think about, for those of us who are Star Trek fans, remember how they would just tap yeah, they tap and say, computer, do this. That's basically what they're creating.
Oh
So
yeah.
think about not being beholden. How many times have we gone out for dinner and you see a couple sitting there and they're both on their phones?
Yeah.
We don't have to be beholden to these anymore. And talk, don't type is the first step towards that. So the other really interesting concept that came out in that video was Sam talked about OpenAI and these AI tools being external brains. So when you think about being able to tap that little device on our shirt and have an intelligent conversation and use this external brain and their PhD level already, what's that going to look like a year from now, 2 years from now? So when I say AI has the capacity to make us much more human, it's much more about creation. It's much more about ideas. It's much more about conversation. It's much more about connection. And isn't that why we started this journey to begin with as entrepreneurs? That's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, you would hope so. It that opens up a whole nother like conversation, quite frankly, that I know we're not
Mm.
gonna have time. But I was at a gratitude dinner last night.
I love
A,
that.
a woman who has a company called Zen Rabbit. She's only been in Charlotte 8 months, and she didn't know anybody, but she learned this from a guy up in New York. He's like a screenwriter, or whatever. He had 18 people in his apartment of 350 square feet. None of them knew each other. He knew most of them, and he was like, "We're gonna make pasta, and we're gonna have discussion." And he started the discussion with one question, and the whole night went this. And so I was in a room of 16 people in an apartment of about 700 people, 700 square feet. I knew Lori, who started this. I didn't know a soul in there, and we were about as diverse as they come, man. I mean, like every end of the spectrum. But the question was this: think about someone living or past that you are grateful for, but that you wish you had shown them or should show them and tell them more about how grateful you are for them.
Mm.
Oh my gosh.
Hmm.
Waterworks from people among strangers. It was a 3 hour deal around that question. 16 people. I was like, holy moly. But what I found was like some of these people were new from Boston, older. They came down here because they're kids and grandkids, whatever, but they have no connection. So
Mm.
they're alone in a sea of people.
Mhm.
Mm.
So they're willing to come to a gratitude dinner where they don't know anybody, and it sounds scary, like, what the heck is this woo
Yeah.
woo? But I think you're right. And I like this talk, but don't type. Like, I actually like to process typing now too. And I like that the act of writing, but I think this is a game changer. And I love your circle of the what I know I don't know, what I know I don't know, and then what I don't know that I don't know. I mean, so Chad
Of how
Jacobs,
little we know, right?
yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah. The older we get, the
it's
more we realize that too, I
yeah,
think. When you're
Mm.
20, you think you know pretty much about 90% of it, what's out
yeah,
there. But now it's like not even,
a drop in the ocean.
I lose too many, decimal points before.
So
But I
Steve,
think this talk don't type is really good. Yeah, go ahead.
two comments. First of all, the proper term for that is a communicator.
Mm.
The little tap thing, just so everybody knows,
Yeah.
for the
Okay.
keep the
Thank you.
record straight.
Yep.
And I also want to thank you for bringing more science fiction into science. And I will let my wife know that that is in fact the case. In fact, I may
That's
even play this recording for her when I get home tonight
You
to show
should.
her that it is,
absolutely.
it's worthwhile watching those sci-fi programs because you never
Well,
know
it's going to
what's
be
in the future,
fantastic. We
right?
talked about this already. I mean, my goodness.
Yes. But yeah, it's the reality is that yeah, you know, I've been trying to talk more into and getting I've heard that you want the AI to understand your personality, the nuances of your voice, the nuances of what you say, how you say it, your word choice, and those kind of things. But I think, and maybe this is a topic for another time, is, you know, I think part of the fear is having stuff out in the public domain, and you've shared with us how we might avoid doing that. But I've also seen companies, larger companies, pharmaceutical companies, that have created their own closed AI.
Yep.
So that way it's, and we're looking into that because, as I said, there's going to be an expectation of professional service providers to do those kind of things. In fact, I was talking to someone yesterday who said that means your
Yeah.
legal bill is going to come down. And I said, well, someone has to pay for the AI stuff, right? And like, okay,
Yeah.
that isn't the answer they were expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, the efficiency, and we work with a lot of law firms. We're actually planning to do a 30-day sprint for law firms. We're, you know, going into a lot of different verticals as well. And I've had you know, a number go through, and um to what you said about the voice, that's the second half of what we teach. You can actually reverse engineer your unique voice DNA. And so that's part one. Part two is how to squash out the AI. So essentially, it's like a ban list. Do not do any of these things. Do not say game changing and deep dive, and do not say it's not about this, it's about that. It's not just this, it's that. Now, all of you are going to see this everywhere. You'll spot it instantly. You've already spotted it unconsciously, right? You can tell right away when something's written by AI, and the problem is that chips away at authenticity, right?
Yeah.
If you have, like Gary, you've got a huge following, right? Your fear is if you start putting out this AI crap, everyone's going to go, this isn't Gary writing anymore. It's not just this, it's that. It's going to be a game-changing AI webinar. Let's all change the world together. They're like, that's not freaking Gary, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the fear. And so a lot of people have that fear. And because of the fear, they don't embrace the tool that they can use. But when you try to use it the right way, like Molly Thompson, she's also in Seed Spark and Coach. She went from, you know, she has her main business and she had always wanted to help female ADHD entrepreneurs for years.
Yeah.
And she had no idea how to do it. And when she went through just the first session of our course, she wrote 3 articles that week and they sounded like her. And it's her passion and her genius and her worldview. And now she was able to remove 90% of the friction to go from concept to connection. Right. And again, it's done in her unique voice, you know, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've gone a little over. So, anybody that came on late and missed the front part of this thing, you can go to Shoemaker's YouTube channel. You can go to BGW's YouTube channel. We'll be on there. If somebody is interested, again, this was not an infomercial for AI Simplifier. However, if somebody wants to reach out to you guys and learn more, or, you know, like go deeper into this, because like I can tell you, I want to, how do they reach you?
Yeah, they can just go to ai-simplifier.com. I'll drop it in there. They can also shoot me or, you know, Steve an email directly to connect. Tom at or Steve at. We like to keep things simple. It's kind of in our name. It's kind of our namesake, you know. Yeah, and we've got another sprint kicking off July 2nd, you know, and so that we're going to be doing. And we're also kicking off an AI Teams program in July as well. So you can go, you know, leadership and your whole team can go through it. And yeah, we'd love to have you.
All right. How often do you guys launch those?
Typically monthly. We're taking August
Okay.
off, but usually we do a monthly sprint, and we're
Okay,
really
cool.
working towards in September. We're going to launch a complete AI transformation, you know, kind of process, because that's what it really needs to be. You know, you need complete company-wide adoption, and when you do that, just there's so many low-hanging fruits, and I think a lot of people jump straight to the advanced, cool, sexy stuff, the one app that's gonna AIify everything, and then those fail because no one like if your core users don't know how to use AI, if they're not bought in and comfortable and confident using it, they're not going to use it. You know, and so there's so much opportunity at that bottom layer that's just low-hanging fruit, but there's not enough simplifiers that have come along and said, hey, here's an easy way to, you know, to set this up. So,
And we actually
Final
have
question.
we have
Yeah, go ahead.
phrase that we use all the time, compressing the time to action. And so the amount of time between idea and percolating and how long is it going to take and who are we going to get involved and actually doing it, it's 1/100th. It's 100x. You're getting 100x the results, 100x the action in just a fraction of the time. It's so much fun to watch.
So Papa Joe says, do you have an online video training? Do you guys do anything like that?
So, I mean, all of our trainings are online, they're live. We don't have an evergreen standalone product where you can buy the kind of,
Okay, got it.
recorded session, if that's what he's asking
Okay.
about.
Yeah, I think that's what he's going at. Offline, I have a connection with some of this AI team that I think would be very interesting. If you can share with me, I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if base 44 is like a, hey, you got to buy a subscription to it or whatever, like I did with GenSpark AI. But let me know because I've got a meeting with them at 3 p.m. today.
Yeah,
I would like to.
I'm shooting you the link right now. And
Okay, cool. Yeah,
I'll
just send it via
I'll do a
email.
couple simple rounds of improvements and hit
All right,
publish.
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Hey
Mhm.
guys, thank you. This was really good. Chad Jenkins, thank you. You're right. These guys added a 0. Skynet, Jack Santinello, thank you so much. Always good to have you. Thank you, Joe, for being on here, man. And for everybody else that joined us. And we'll probably have to have you guys on again. So
Sure thing.
We'd love that. Thank you, Gary.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jack.
Thanks,
Thanks,
you
All right.
everybody.
guys.
you guys
Have
have
a
a
good rest of
wonderful
the day.
day.
All right,
See you
thanks
around.
everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.